Welcome to the Police Committee meeting for January 24th. I was asking Town Clerk Weber earlier if she would be willing to lead us through the agenda, since we are without a chair until we appoint someone. And that is on our agenda tonight. But until that point, would you mind taking it away?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So one of the things that we do have on the agenda tonight is to meet the new attorney for the town. As everyone knows, Tim Protesky has moved on. I'm very sad about that. But his son, Joe Protesky, and William Wolf are our town attorneys. And so Joe is gonna come introduce himself tonight if he got a little hung up. So I thought that we could actually skip right to the police chief's report and give Joe some time to get here.
Great. I know that, thank you, first off. So goals and objectives, and I appreciate it. Thanks, Coach, for giving me some of those things there, because it's kind of in line with a couple of other things I wanted to talk about, specific to communication, dealing with people, citizen reviews, like how are we doing in the community? We're going to talk about that later, so I always appreciate that. That was a 23, right? Yeah, so 23 and then 24. So this time of year is a very busy year in the police department, and we have, because we are a very mature CALIA agency, meaning that we've been in accreditation for so long. We have a process that we go through in the end of the year and the beginning of the new one, which is we sit back and we start doing analysis, which is quantitative and qualitative data that we put through a process to identify trends and patterns that will identify needs like training, equipment, procedural changes, things of that nature, to identify risk, footprint, and also to allow us to self-assess how we're doing business. Are we hitting the mark here? Or do we need to be flexible? Because as our community needs change, as things change, as our personnel changes, experience comes in, experience goes out, we have to evaluate how we're doing as an organization constantly. So 23, when 23 ends, we have a number of things to do. One of the first things we do is we conduct a review of our 23 goals and what we accomplished that we set out to accomplish. What are some of the things in which that we chose not to pursue during that year? What are some of the things that we wish we did, but we didn't do because we made conscious decisions to put resources in other places? We know that, resources finite, so as time changes, so when we make these goals, we're usually making them in the November of the year prior. So suddenly we're in July, things have changed, personnel has changed, community needs have changed, so we'll shift. And we have to become good as an organization to be able to shift and be flexible so that we can be successful at addressing what happens in front of us. So we took a look at 23, and during that process, we conducted a review of what we were able to do. We're very satisfied at where we are as an organization for 23. We created 24, and we got those out. Thank you for everybody to take a look at, and then we're going to be posting those out. And I know that we sent them out to you already, what we have, but we'll be revisiting those. 3 areas that are specific to that is internal development, operational excellence and efficiency, and of course, traffic operations. Traffic is a big part of our community needs, and as our community continues to grow, it'll continue to be that. So we have that as a piece, part and parcel of our goals going 24. I think one of the things that I wanted to address is one of the areas in which that our goals are a little bit different this year is we're going to be looking at some new public-private partnerships and our ability to connect with our community in our business community. We follow victimization rates and patterns as they occur within our jurisdiction. And right now, as you will see, that as time is going on, You're seeing violent crimes being reported by the FBI as reductions, but right now what's happening is a significant increase in property crime, which are things in which that affect business. Not only the things you're watching, the big box store stuff, you know, the things we talked about earlier at that presentation, but it's really about, when we take a look at it, do we understand the scope of what our business community needs from a law enforcement side, and do they understand what we can provide them? I think that we are much more, I think everybody here will agree, because you're part of what makes this organization, this community, that we're much more than just a law enforcement arm. We do so much more, and we have so much more to offer our community. One of the areas I think that well, I know that we're going to be focused on in 24 is our business community, and through that, I've established the Chiefs Business Advisory Council, where I'm asking those people in business inside the town and our villages, but also adjacent to that are connected, if they would be interested in representing their organization or their area of business within a small committee that can provide me and help our organization understand what the needs of our business communities are, and allow us to work together as a public-private kind of committee to assemble not only recommendations for the future, but to look at ways in which we can accomplish those things. So I put that out. I'm getting great feedback. We have folks from the banking side. We have folks from sales. We have folks from real estate, property. We have interested people from childcare businesses. So we are getting a number of folks that are calling small businesses within the village of Noah and other ways that want to participate, which I'm excited about. But I'm also going to be connecting with some other businesses within the town to see if they'd be interested in having some folks on board. Just to kind of give you an idea, like I built some drafts, but these things will, of course, mature once we get into a group setting. But the draft committee purpose will be pretty much to enhance existing and create new public-private partnerships, to address the concerns of business within and around the jurisdiction, in order to promote greater safety, security, and success within our community. And some of the action steps that I have in mind is, you know, not only creating this community or this committee made up of members from our commercial community that operate inside and close to, but like a cross section of our business community, to meet and discuss current trends. What are they seeing with what they're doing? Where are their needs? Seek current needs of our business community with association to public safety. How can we help you? A lot of folks don't realize that we have much more to offer as an organization, as we talked about before, than just a traditional sense of what law enforcement does in our community. To strategize with the community, identify solutions, come up with recommendations, and through that, focus on creating this, you know, this partnership that can assist in those solutions, to include looking at grant funding and creative ways in which that we can have public and private come together and create some opportunities for maybe, you know, some solutions that are out there that maybe we don't recognize what their issues are, they don't recognize what we can do, but then just by the collaboration coming together, I think would be a good, healthy thing for our community. We're also doing the rules and regulations update. It comes to no surprise the police department has rules and regulations on how its members manage and are managed, and how they must perform, and the way in which they do that. We're taking a look at our rules and regulations. We're currently reviewing and updating, basically commensurate with the times and the environment. We have interviewed 3 additional candidates for the position of police officer. And I'm prepared to talk about staffing. I was made aware that the committee had some questions about staffing, and I'm prepared to talk about that right after this. So it's the same civil service list that we used before. However, during that process, many times what occurs is people will join that list after they test for their physical fitness portion. And if they fail and they're given another opportunity, if they pass, then they're added to the list. So these 3 were interviewed, and we had 2 moving forward in the process. Also, if you saw the Eagle newspapers this past week, our folks were right up on the front there with just a wonderful program that we've already created a very successful public-private partnership with CARES, which is the Center for Aging Resources and Enrichment out of Lemoyne College. It's a foundation that's established there. Phenomenal folks, phenomenal people, and we've come together to be able to provide programming focused on that's specific to those that are going through the aging process, and things in which that we're seeing from our side of victimization rates and the needs and being able to work with them. It's very successful so far. We have a new fraud prevention series, and in that fraud prevention series, we're working with our libraries. So in Fayetteville, we have February 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th at 2 p.m. In Manlius on March 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th at 11. Say it quick, but it's up on the website. It's in social media, but it's also in that article in Eagle. And this is like our first, some of our first presentations combined with that CARES team. They have full-time people that work, and we kind of intermixed, and it's a great experience so far. Our current staffing discussion. I think this came up the last time. I'm sorry, I was out of town for Christmas, but I think there were some questions asked to our staffing. So I was just going to go ahead and throw some things out, and then based on that, if anybody had any questions now. For 2023, we were funded for 38 personnel. Right? After our review and analysis of our staffing needs based on the facts of what we were dealing with, the recommendation was an increase, and the town board reviewed that and also took a look and agreed with that increase in order for us to continue to serve at the level of which that our community expects. We received that funding to move to 40 for 2024. Strategic plan, and a part of that plan that we're working with the town, maybe increases beyond that and over the next multiple years, strategic 3-year plan. Currently, right now, we have 36 sworn. 1 is on FTO, and that includes all of our school resource officers. So our police officers that are full-time police officers that are assigned to either the FM or the ESN school district, and that is a total of 4 members. We have 7 part-time SPOs that are above that number. Those are the special patrol officers that work part-time that add to the staff at ESM and FM. There's 3 assigned at ESM and there's 4 assigned to FM.
Do you mind highlighting the community role that's new for this coming year?
Oh, the community service officer, thank you.
So, I know we had a question from the community about it, so. Okay,
so what we were looking at, and one of the things in which we identified within our staffing allocation study was the opportunity to look at ways to reduce dependencies on sworn officers doing tasks in which that could quite possibly be done by somebody that doesn't require the level of training, the necessities of all that comes with the badge, and a civilian operating as a community service officer. We used to have that. And then over time, it was no longer something in which that I think at the time could show its value. But I think in the meantime, we've discovered that based on our inability to always find candidates, and also I will tell you the heaviness of the civil service system, that we can't always find people to do things. And so our opportunity to engage with a community service officer on a part-time basis was one in which that we wanted to pursue. And again, thank you for having that discussion with us, because one of the pieces of the community service officer position that we would really like to see work is that we have a wonderful cadet post. so formerly the Explorers. And they are from 14 to 18, but they get to this point at 18 where they can be a member of the cadet post until they're 20. But they get to this point where if they go to school, if they go away, we try to invite them back. Most of them by that time know they want to pursue a career in law enforcement, and they're doing that either farther away. But many of them stay local, and many of them go to school right here. And what we saw with this opportunity is maybe to take a member of our post who can do this position and would make a great addition to our organization, be able to employ them as a CSO because they're already familiar with so much that we do, carry their interest through, encourage them to seek their education, keep them employed part-time, and then once they are done with their education, they take the test, and then we can transition them hopefully to the position of police officer. We have had, our Explorer post / cadet post has been the single greatest recruitment tool our organization has ever had. And I'm not just saying that because, I was lucky enough to be a part of it, but when we look across the board of so many of our phenomenal employees of the past, they're all members. So, thank you for bringing that up. So right now, we're actually looking to that. We're inquiring within that post about the possibility of having anyone interested in that position. If not, we're going to start opening it up from there, and you'll see that. We're taking a look and reviewing our CSO job descriptions from prior years to make sure that it adequately identifies what the role of this position of this person would take. We also are recipients of a New York State grant, which was a while ago, which was the F-150 Lightning. So an all electric based pickup truck. We are right now, it's been ordered, and we're in a conversation about striping. We're going to have it striped very similar to our regular patrol vehicles. It's right now it's going to be more of a community service, special use vehicle for a whole number of different things that we can use it for. And then we're also going to be testing our ability to utilize the types of equipment we use in an electric-based platform. Let's see, what else do we have? Our annual 2023 report, we're starting that process. So right now we're starting to get all the statistics rolling in from 2023, from the end of year, the end quarter, December, and we're going to start working on that. And I'm looking at March, April as focus for that release. And then also, I wanted to talk just briefly about active citizen survey. And I know that's kind of a part and parcel of, in a way, what Dan kind of brought forward here is that how do we interact with our community? How do we do it? And how do we know if our community is satisfied with our services? As an organization, we have historically done it through the mail. We would send out about 10 different letters. They would be randomly picked from case numbers, and not everything would get evaluated. So there might be specific types of, an arrestee or a specifically violent or difficult situation that we wouldn't necessarily send that to because we would be spending a significant amount of time working with those people and such. But the bulk of the things that we do every day would be included. So we would take 10 of those and we would send them out a month, and we would be lucky if we got one or two back. And then we would put those community service surveys out, and we would take a look at it. Technology is reared its head here, and we have a need to have more information, a greater understanding of where we are. So we have, this started last year, connected with Power Engage. It's operated by the same company that provides our Power DMS accreditation and training software, which is also used by 911. It works directly through the 911 dispatching software to send basic police responder surveys to complainants and victims via text message, and with the focus on aiding our quality control and ensuring that we're meeting our mission and our vision. The only types of calls for the department selects are surveys. So primarily, like I talked about, we avoid sensitive crimes or incidents such as assaults or death investigations. But most common of all response types of calls are sent. It has drastically increased our survey response rates. We are, previously we were about 10 to 15%. Now we have a response rate of about 45%, which just since, I believe, May 1st, we've had just nearly 1,000 returns.
What's the rough turnaround time? So like from the citizen experiencing the crisis, the call, and then how much later would you possibly get pinged with a survey request?
I don't know that. I'd have to ask that question, but I will send it out in an email. I'm not sure exactly. I have been told it's fairly quick. So 24, 48 hours. And again, sensitive situations, I think
yeah, you'd avoid that.
Yes.
Entirely.
But and I'll give you some interesting examples of this. So like we talked about before, so we have our current survey questions. So we have survey questions, and basically the survey says I'm contact. So I'll get like people calling me saying, hey, you contacted me, and I'm like, I'll have to think about it for a second. It'll say, this is Chief Casale from the Town of Manlius Police Department. Based on your recent interaction with our department, please take a minute to answer these 6 questions. 1 to 5, 1 very unsatisfied, and 5 very satisfied. The first one is, how satisfied are you with the service you received from the department? The second question, the responding officers were polite, professional, and service-oriented. If you hear our chats, that's what we talk about. That's what we shoot for all the time. 3 is the responding officer or officers appear to care about your situation and competent and thorough in their investigation or resolution. We want to know if we actually got to what they wanted us to get to. And did we look at a solution?
That's one of the things I gave you on that.
Yes.
Sheet.
Absolutely. That's why I think it just ties right in. 4 is the responding officer effectively helped resolve my situation. And then comments are accepted for the following. It's, please provide any feedback that you have for our officer or officers with whom you interacted. And then we have one on the bottom, and it's choices for the following. Not at all concerned, somewhat concerned, very concerned. Based on your experience in the town of Manlius, how concerned are you about safety in your neighborhood or the community? Just to kind of gauge where folks are, what their feeling is, because it's one thing to feel that we're enforcing and providing public safety, but it's another about how people feel about their own personal safety.
Yeah, that's my question. It's remarkably similar to the survey that I send out as another community services director. And I'm looking for the sweet spot of what's the right, because we're meeting people at a bad situation as well. And we want how to resolve how much time is the right amount of time to go by to get kind of a fair assessment as opposed to just a reactive survey response. So I don't know the answer. That's why I asked you, but
I will find out. I think we can have a conversation about it because we may be able to help with our matrix. If we're getting such a good response back, maybe this is a good place to be where we are right now, or maybe we should fluctuate it a little bit and see what happens. Do they go down? Do they go up?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the number of responses.
It's pretty good response numbers.
Yeah. So our response rate right now is about 46 plus or minus. So think about this, like we are in a conflict-driven business, right? Right? I mean, it's all conflict. We're not calling the police to share good.
The only reason
want to invite us over for dinner just doesn't occur. So it's a conflict-driven business. So we have just short of 1,000 since we started in our positive satisfaction score. So the percentage of all surveys that are either a 4 or a 5, satisfied or very satisfied on all those questions, we're at 93.5%.
Wow.
For organization in conflict.
Wow. Congratulations.
So on the sentiment survey, the summary of people's comments. So the software actually can determine if that comments are positive or negative.
Yeah.
So
right?
yes, so positive or neutral, and we're at 94%. And with that, what I think also is interesting is that on the one question that means so much to me, in its question 2, which is the responding officer is polite, professional, and service oriented. Most people think that when they're there, they're approachable, they're communicative, they're respectful, they're listening. You know, there's so much that goes into that question. Since the beginning, just short of 1,000, just in that area alone, and just scoring a 5, which is very satisfied, is 95%. So you know, this kind of confirms, I think, that we continue to push the right things, that the organization is in a good place for culture. We're always looking at ourselves. And with this, another nice part of this in a couple pieces, we have a message board in our control room that just scrolls through all the messages. And the software puts together the members that were on the scene and the person's comment. So this board is up there, and as members are going through and they're watching, the officer was very thoughtful and attentive to my situation. And it'll say like Officer Smith and Officer whatever, and it'll have their names up there. So our members are getting that feedback.
That's really interesting.
And they're understanding that there is, you know, when they do the right thing, folks appreciate the right thing. And so they're able to see this and be a part of that. So that gives encouragement to our members, which I can tell you from personal experience from so long, in a conflict-based business, it can be burdensome, right? But you're getting that good, positive feedback. And what we're saying with that feedback is go forth and do this again. And that's kind of what that's also created. Additionally, it gives us opportunities to take a look at what doesn't go right. So we had one in which that, you know, the score was very negative, and we have a lieutenant, part of the lieutenant's duty is they look at these things, and they look at it and they see it. You know, the vast majority of the time, it is some kind of communication problem where we weren't communicating, or sometimes we're dealing with folks that deal with law enforcement a lot, or in a situation in which they're very difficult to satisfy because of their certain situation they find themselves in. However, we do find things in which we err. And one of them was, we took a look at it. Our lieutenant called the gentleman on the phone, tell us what happened. We turned right around, we educated our supervisor and our members to say, oh, wait a minute, we do have some tools to help manage these kinds of crises. Let's employ them. We educated our people. It happened again. We went back, we did what we had to do, and he turned in a survey that was like, this is phenomenal. Made a phone call, I got a phone call back, somebody actually listened, and the next time it happened, it was a complete reversal. So yes, we do have our situations that we find improvement, but we use that as a way to be able to say, see, we can do these things. There are things we can improve on. So we have to be self-reflective in order for this to work. But it's been a great trial period since May that we've been doing this. It's about May 1st. And it's been very positive.
So the sign that you talk about, was that always there just for updates, or is it part of this? You implemented it?
We implemented it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We felt that that was critical to our members knowing where they stand. It's also a part parcel of the
It's great.
program.
It's like the fun, it's the nice part of accountability.
Yes.
It's not all just getting caught doing something wrong. You're accountable to the public. Look, they're enjoying your professional conduct.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's nice because it's right there for all of them to see. And the vast majority of our members aren't going to say, hey, see, look at me, but you know they're reading it, and you know they're processing.
Yeah,
But when
they're
they're
proud.
And they're proud.
Quiet,
And I want
yeah.
them to be, because they're great people and they work very hard to produce a superior product. And I want them to replicate that every day they go on.
Kudos.
Yeah, bravo. Should be proud.
So you produce solutions to a problem. That's your production.
That's what we manufacture, absolutely. But with that, the process is so important to produce those solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do our members appear? How do they act? Are they knowledgeable enough? You know, were they able to figure out how to communicate through layers of difficulty? You'll probably be surprised when I say this, but there are a certain number of people we deal with on a daily basis that, you know, they're not in their normal faculties, they're intoxicated, they're on drugs, they're very difficult, they're a person in crisis, they're very difficult to be able to communicate. So training our members to be able to think on their feet and to understand the dynamics of this As we saw from the town board meeting with CIT, giving these officers the tools to do that, we didn't have that. We either learned to do it and became successful police officers, or they had a bumpy road. Now we have the ability to provide those skills.
Well, the anecdotes keep coming in to reflect that.
Yeah.
Seeing the improvement.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of correspondence, are you able to characterize and share a little bit with the information that you sent over today that the board saw?
I'm sorry, which?
Um,
The letter.
Yes.
Yeah, so in these things happen, and and it's so important for us, and I think it's so important to share those things out.
Yeah.
We had a gentleman show up today that was from out of town, but moving here. He was in town when a family member became significantly ill and required emergency services. Our members were first on the scene, provided life-saving measures at the scene, managed the scene, managed the family, got him down to the hospital. Unfortunately, the family member passed away. But it was the manner in which that our officers managed themselves and managed the scene and cared for people, provided the empathy and the support necessary during such a difficult time. And this gentleman felt compelled to come in and bring a whole bunch of breakfast treats, bagels, coffee, and a beautifully written letter, one for each of the two members that were there, and for myself, reflecting on what they did, and to be able to say thank you. And so I try to share some of those things with you, and I'm going to be better at doing that over time as we do these things. I'll make sure that we get some of these different communications out. So sometimes the information, though, is
sensitive too.
it's sensitive or
Yeah.
protected.
Yeah, I wouldn't think.
But I'd like to try to get this kind of information out, because these are the good things. I mean, they're usually stem from a bad thing, but when you can create an opportunity for someone that is in significant trauma, for them to, when they sit back and reflect, say, this whole thing was horrible, but the manner in which that I was managed by the people when they called 911 was absolutely phenomenal, that I feel necessary to kind of show them that is very telling.
Absolutely.
And that's not a one-off. Yeah, we get that.
Are you still going? Okay. I wanted to ask a question. It's not even really a question, just a comment on the Business Advisory Council. As I hear the effort that's going to go forward, it's great and I love it, but I think about capacity to take this on and just consider the utility of this committee to assist.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's great. I would appreciate that. That's great.
It would be great. This is my last police committee meeting, so I say this and I won't be able to follow up in the same way I will the private citizen, of course, but question, it would be really interesting to find out what happens in terms of the trends and understandings around the environmental review that the officers do of the spaces. I think people, when they advise and give consulting advice to a small retail establishment about how their window covering should be, or how the hedges are either helping or hurting, sort of their vulnerability, improving, their resistance to theft and break-ins and things like that. It would be great to get that and then, have
Little
the
best practices. So
yeah, or have those sorts of results. Make sure we could keep an eye, or the committee could keep an eye on them going into the annual report, or the things that are broadcast out. Because I think that is an area of expertise and consulting that the officers do that people don't understand. And I understand you want probably a fine balance of like, okay, we have only so many slots for this, but at the same time, people do need to reach out. So when to know that you can do this and that you're willing to.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Crime prevention through environmental design is something in which that we have. There are things in which that become inherent with law enforcement that all of our members understand, recognize, and can work with. And then there's things that interior, exterior, employee-driven, training-driven, that we have two people that have been specially trained to assist with those things. And I just had a conversation today, and part of that conversation was posing to our own head of codes that maybe this would be a great opportunity for him, that we could sponsor
yeah.
him to go. And these are not extensive, these are week-long kinds of training that we could get him to maybe be involved in that process. And so we're gonna be giving him a briefing on what SEPTED is through our members at the police department that do it, so that he can understand it from his side of working together, and that we can start coming together even closer to manage some of those things, because it's coming. Those things are important. When we talk to businesses, and I'm sure that there's going to be those things that they're looking for us to do, and how do we establish that? And also hence why turning that on and starting this is so important for us to then have a CSO, because the CSO is going to be a part of this process. We hire the right person to get them trained in these areas and be able to go to these appointments with our police officers, do the things and exercise some of those programs. It's going to be very important for us to do in capacity. Thank you for understanding that. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
There's always we were having that conversation about goals for 23, and I don't accept lack of staffing for a reason why we didn't accomplish something. The reason we didn't accomplish something, and it says lack of staffing, which I wholeheartedly reject, is because I made a decision to use our resources elsewhere based on where we were as an organization. That might have come into play, but there's so many other things that are there. And so I think that's such an important conversation, but thank you. And I just want to, is there any questions or any concerns, anything you'd like to talk about for me that not only if I can help you, but can always take back to the organization?
Have you gone to the Chamber of Commerce
Yes.
with this? Actually met with them during their meeting?
Yes, I was very, I was humbled to be invited to speak at their annual meeting a couple weeks ago at the country club. And unveiled it there during the talk. And so I wanted to use them as the beginning of that platform for discussion, and then I'm building off from those that are interested from within the chamber.
So did the people that you're going to work with, the business or people, did you select them or did they select you?
What I'm doing is I'm saying, if you're interested, please let me know. And then I will go through everything and invite people to a meeting.
Hope you get somebody from each area.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm striving for. But I have no problem with, if folks want to give the time and have a discussion, once I kind of tell them what the specifics are of what I'm looking for, sometimes we get people to go, okay, I don't have these issues, so it's not necessary for me to be a part of it. I've already had that conversation with people. Then I've had other people that say, no, this is really something I need to talk about because we have suffered significant loss and we have needs, and I'd like to figure out not only how to get help, but I'd like to figure out how to help those
Further to what Trustee Kinsella was saying, question about the businesses that you already have kind of an active relationship with, because there are, either a retail spot that has, needs, or a location that makes it really convenient for people to hang around, and there are just some dynamics where employees don't always know what is appropriate, what is not appropriate in terms of property and how they assert themselves and come here or go there. Do you have a list of those companies and are those organizations, and are they part of this at all, or will they be?
So we took a look at, our stats are also a part of our calls for service. So when we look at those, we want to be able to do what we can do to bring them, less victimization as possible. So come here, help us, help you, help us. Hopefully by targeting them and giving them the tools, they will rely less on our response, and we can shore up maybe some of those liabilities that exist for all of us when calls for service like that happen. So that's what I'm also after.
Thank you.
My question answered.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I guess in continuing to move things around, I did see that our new attorney for the town, Joe Fortescue, is here. So I just wanted to take a minute to introduce Joe and let him say hi. And like I said, Joe and William Wolf are also work together with the town of Manlius. So if we ever need an attorney for the town here, they may appear. You know, Tim used to sit in occasionally just to attend meetings. So.
Hi everyone, Joe Fortescue, same name, different face, different first name, for better or for worse, I guess. Happy to work with all of you in any way I can. I'll certainly give you cards, so you have my number if you ever want to reach out to me. Shoot me an email. Look forward to working with all of you on this, for sure. Just a little bit about my background. I am a municipal attorney. I work with the town of Salina, partially with the town of Lysander, town of Pompey, Village of Fabius, and Madison County, and Village of Warmsville, so I'm kind of all over central New York region. But yeah, like I said, I'll give you my card, and if there's any questions or concerns at any time, feel free to reach out to me.
And so I guess before we do any business-like things, I think it would be good to move up a section where we talk about appointing a police committee chair, so that if we were going to do that tonight, that person could then run the rest of the meeting and move me. So I watched enough to fake it, but so I wanted to open up the floor a little bit for discussion about appointing the police committee chair, in that I know some members have had questions about it and discussions about it.
Sure. So I'm a member who's had a discussion about it for some time. I've been talking with Trustee Beluski from the Village of Manlius for 6-8 months now about the function and utility of this committee and how important it is to have this vehicle for the villages to provide advice and counsel to the department. And so I thought it would be very important that the chair of this committee be a representative from a village. And so he and I have been talking about this for a while. And although he could not attend this meeting tonight, I am, cheerfully nominating him for that role here with this committee. With his consent, I did talk to him early today. Not only is he a village representative, but also the village which currently houses the department is in the building. So that's my piece. Tom unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight, but I will call him after the meeting and fill him in on any developments. But so they have one.
So who's going to replace you? Do you know?
Not yet. Just a town board person.
I think we're going to be in conflict because I nominate Bob Shep.
So there is no official protocol for this, but I'm taking notes. So what I will do in this moment is I will report the fact that you have nominated trustee from the Village of Manlius, Tom Beluski, and that you have nominated trustee from the Village of Manoa, Bobby Shep. I may need a little bit of your guidance here because I have not done this before. Is this a matter where we want to vote this evening without full members present, or do we want to table this to the next meeting? I would not be the deciding factor here. I'm just sort of emceeing the event.
I would like to suggest that we table it and provide some time for folks to discuss it, offline, and at the very least for Tom, who I've put out there to discuss it himself with any of the members, if everyone is amenable to that.
Yeah, it would be great if in the agreement, it states what the chair's duties are, what the responsibilities are. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to talk about what the chair does. And then if Tom and if Bobby would just send a note forward addressing those responsibilities and their interest in it, just something. I don't think it has to be super formal, but just like a letter of interest that they just share. I think that would be great for the record and great to have as a starting point for whoever's leading. And then I also agree we should have the members present, and Tom should be able to vote, and whoever else is here. I don't know if by the next meeting in February, you'll have another person here. But it would depend on whether or not it's the brand new person to the board just swapped in, or if it's somebody else who's actively serving on the board who gets asked to serve by the other town board members. So it's possible.
I would also like to ask if we could put an official process into place, just because I did have several members ask me, and I think that was a natural conclusion that I might know, but this is a new process for us. And so having something in the future where, you know, I can say, well, if you'd like to be chair of the committee, you have to get a nomination, or you need to put a letter forward. However, but if the committee could agree on that, that would give whoever is the secretary the option for that. You know, one thing is they could submit letters to the secretary, being a very neutral position. Secretary can distribute them to the board, but start to think about that, what that looks like. And it sounds, I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads, yeah, so it sounds like everyone's comfortable tabling this until the next meeting. Okay, and I have reported that we have 2 nominations from the floor, and it sounds like you're also willing to put a letter forward. I know we haven't really discussed in the moment what the duties of the chair are, but we may want to do that in a way that we can send it out to Trustee Paluski because he's not present.
Yeah. Would you mind taking the section from the agreement that describes it and putting that sort of at the top of the,
Sure.
yeah, and sending it out, and then people can respond?
Yeah, that's fine. All right, so I will record that this matter has been tabled until the next meeting and send out all those communications. And then do you want to continue forward with things that require motions, including setting the date for meetings and approving the minutes, or do you want to table that until you have a real chair?
I think we should, I personally think that we should do it because those don't seem very controversial.
I mean, for the sake of efficiency.
Yeah.
just-
Okay. So we'll set the date for the meetings. One of the things that happened at the last meeting is that we were going by our previous methods, which was the police committee would meet every other month, and that was 6 times a year. In the new and approved police committee agreement, it did designate that you were to meet monthly or as often as needed, I think was the language. I don't have it in front of me. It's fine if you don't either. So we would meet at the last meeting, we did adopt the every other meeting schedule. We would need to just adopt the new meeting schedule, which would be the second Wednesday of the month at 5 p.m. I did discuss it with our then attorney, Tim Patesky. He advised that we should stick to the agreement as closely as possible, and so to follow those rules.
Okay.
All right. So if I could entertain a motion.
But before we do that, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If, say, the chair wants to pick a different time or wants to suggest a different time to meet or adjustments, would that just be something they raise?
Yeah, I am required by law as a secretary to just publish in the paper that we're having this meeting because the public can attend, and then I also put it on our website and do different things like that. I was also going to suggest a little collaboration that we've not done in the past, which is that the villages are members of the police committee, and so of course, village residents are very much town residents, and maybe if I send the schedule to the village clerks, you could also put that on your website as well, so that that would kind of increase people knowing about it. But if that's a reason you might want to hold off on that, that's it too. But I would have to publish our next meeting, which I have not yet done. I only published this one because after we adopted the motion, I became aware of that discrepancy.
I would think it makes sense to publish agree on the next meeting and then have the chair do that as an action the next meeting. Does that make sense?
All right, so I would say, without looking at the calendar, you have already previously approved the 28th in our original motion.
Great.
So we're covered there, and I can go ahead and publish that, and I will just publish the next meeting. So what did I say? It's in February, yes, February 28th.
At 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m. Yep, and it'll be here, it'll be broadcast.
I'll probably just tune in from home. You know, just watch it for fun.
Oh, darn it. You get to eat.
Yeah.
That's right.
Next, if I could have a motion to approve the minutes of December 20th as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, second. William, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I don't know if we have any old business. It seems as though that's kind of what we've been discussing, but does anybody have any old business that they want to bring forward at this time?
Well, just make mention that we have our new actual agreement in place. And it's available on the town's website, or it can be.
Yes, it will be.
It will be. And I was thinking that it would be also great to also put, obviously, the annual report up on the town's police committee page when it comes out in a couple of months. And what else have we done since? Oh, and the PBA agreement has been, as I understand it, has been signed, or is about to be signed.
The only thing that I know is that the tentative agreement was approved. I have not seen, I'm not in the loop on those things until they're approved at the meeting, so I don't know that.
Great, neither do I, but that's, but that sounds like that's something that's moving along.
I can speak. There's a few cleanup changes that are just being made at this time, but we're very close to it.
Okay, great. That's good to know. So that's good. I mean, I think that's good for awareness for committee members for sure. And then Frosty Forest was postponed because of the chill, but the TMPD always does an amazing job. Go visit our freezing cold officers and see the drone in action at Green Lakes on Saturday. This weekend, Saturday, 1 p.m. Yeah. And I assume some cadets will be there too, as they usually are.
I think so, yes.
So it's a great time to meet them too.
Anybody else have any old business? All right, new business, and we'll just kind of use that as a time to go around. So does Manoa have anything?
Nothing right now.
Okay.
I have some things, but I'm going to get a hold of Jason because I want to work with maybe one of his officers, maybe contesting. Work with me, but nothing big.
Somebody we met here at a function in the town of Manlius over the summer, Stefania, has started a new organization called Breaking Stalking, and she's doing outreach to various public institutions, including law enforcement. And I attended her rollout event last week. It's very interesting. I can't speak for her, but I'll send you the information. She's really a powerful speaker, and essentially it's around the notion of helping to understand where problematic behavior becomes criminal stalking, and helping people who are victims or potentially victims to understand that and to help communicate with law enforcement better about it. So I'll send it along. It's very, very compelling presentation.
Is it an electronic format? Does she do this like live, or like is this something in which it's an electronic format too, like that she did that's been taped that we can share also?
Yes, I think so. I don't know if it's all together yet. Her partner is sort of the tech part of the operation, but I think so. I think that's cool.
I'm interested in that because I think that any chance that we have to be able to provide, some additional focus on crimes like that, because we're seeing this starting in our high schools.
That's what I thought. So she has a great, powerful victim presentation, persona presentation. And again, right now she's doing a lot of outreach, so I think she'd be available to just come and talk. I'll send you that part.
Yeah.
I'll make sure.
Heal Onondaga, I know, is doing a 3 school-wide and community-wide presentation March 3rd, I have it. So HEAL stands for Heroin Epidemic, what's the A? League. And it is on the 13th that HEAL brings in all kinds of resources to help parents and people in the community prevent substance abuse, recognize substance abuse, understand the dangers. They have a presentation called The Hidden Room, I think, where you can go into a room where drug paraphernalia and other warning signs for families and parents of young people, things that are hidden in plain sight that they can become a little bit more aware about and have a better eye for, and it's a training for them. And yeah, so I don't know if McLean Eunice is somebody that she had come and spoken to us about Narcan and did a Narcan training with us at the CRC, the Critical Response Committee meeting. But this is great. She's done it before with the school districts, but would love to engage with law enforcement and the community too.
Yeah, and thank you for the email.
Yeah.
So she's on my list that I'm going to contact on Friday. I want to start that conversation and see how we can help each other. What we can do.
Yeah, it should be good. But she said, Heather, as a parent, you've got to be there. So I will be there for sure. So you can count me in as a volunteer too if you want. I'll put my name in.
All right, with no other business, I'll just state that our next meeting will be on February 28th at 5 p.m. And if I could have a motion to adjourn.
Take a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.